to the DOB Now Build Fall 2023 release for Suspended Scaffold. Here's what we're going to cover in today's training. I'm going to start with an introduction to Suspended Scaffold, and we'll talk about types of applicants. Then we'll get into the requirements for actually filing the job. We'll talk about scope of work, technical reports, documents, attestations, and fees. And then we'll show you exactly how to actually file a Suspended Scaffold job filing. I'll then hand things over to my colleague Anthony, who will take us through plan approval and permits, installation and removal notifications. He'll show you how to submit notifications. He'll talk about supersede requests and post-approval amendments, and we'll finish up by talking about in-progress CD5 filings. Now, some things about how it's going to work today. As Diego mentioned, we do have a chat feature, a Q&A, where you can ask any questions you want. Your microphones will remain muted for the length of the training. If we have time at the end, we will allow people to unmute and ask questions then. Please do ask your questions. We want to answer them. Just be aware there may be questions we cannot answer today. If there are, we're going to put them in what we call our parking lot, where we go and find the answers to the questions. And then those answers will be disseminated to you probably via the website. You may get an email with a survey after this is done. Please let us know what you think. We want to make sure our training is as valuable as possible for you. And we do encourage you to participate and ask your questions. We want you to be able to do this with no issues once this goes live. So let's start with a Suspended Scaffold introduction. Suspended scaffolds, also called hanging scaffolds, are work platforms that hang from overhead support structures on roofs or building setbacks. Suspended scaffolds need to comply with the New York City construction codes. Now, I recognize this may be information you already know, but I want to make sure we're all starting on the same page. Industrial rope access is a method by which access is gained to the exterior walls of a building or structure by means of ropes. This is applicable in cases where people descend or ascend via a rope. Ropes are used as the primary means of support, and ropes are used as the primary means of protection or positioning for the individual. Currently, for suspended scaffold, the applications are submitted using two distinct methods. There is a submission by the CD5 form. This is a paper process right now. And the applicants who use it are either master or special riggers or master or special sign hangers. The other option is submission by PW1 form, which is currently filed in BIS. And the applicants using that are registered design professionals, either a professional engineer or registered architect. As of November 15th, all applications for suspended scaffolds, that is CD5s and PW1s, will be submitted through DOB Now Build. Suspended scaffold will be a new work type that can be used with alteration job type, initial or subsequent filings. Suspended scaffold can also be submitted as a subsequent filing for new building or Alt-CO jobs. For the updated release, there are two options associated with the category suspended scaffold. The first is industrial rope access, and the second subcategory is suspended scaffold. Under suspended scaffold, there are two options, adjustable or non-adjustable. And it is really important to know, you cannot combine non-adjustable and adjustable types within the same filing. Similarly, you cannot select IRA and suspended scaffold together in the same filing. These need separate filings. Suspended scaffold work type cannot be combined filed with any other work type. So, as I said, both CD5s and PW1s will be submitted through DOB Now Build. Now, it depends on the scope of work who can do that. It could be a special or master rigger, a special or master sign hanger, or a registered design professional, a PE or RA. If a PE or RA submits, it will be reviewed by the borough office based on the standard PW1 job filing, plan review, and permitting process. If a special or master rigger or special or master sign hanger submits, it will be reviewed by the cranes and derricks unit as they currently review the CD5 applications. So let's talk about when different licenses can file. All suspended scaffold job filings may be filed by professional engineer or registered architect. Some suspended scaffold job filings may be filed by a master or special rigger or master or special sign hanger. In some cases, if the applicant of record is not a PE or RA, there must still be a PE or RA associated to the job filing. The PE or RA must attest and upload a DPL-1. Some suspended scaffold jobs do not require a job filing. Instead, only a notification is required to be filed. And some limited scope suspended scaffold jobs require neither a job filing nor a notification. So let's go into the requirements for each of these categories. A suspended scaffold must be submitted by a PE or RA only if these conditions apply. Remember, if a PE or RA is the one who's submitting, it's reviewed by the borough office. So here are the conditions where you must have a PE or RA. Suspended scaffold platforms can be adjustable or non-adjustable, and there can be any method of support. Excuse me. There must be one or more no to the next 5 questions listed here. So at least one no to single tier, supported at no more than 1 or 2 points, a maximum height of 15 feet, a maximum capacity of less than 2,000 pounds, and a maximum platform load of less than 75 pounds per square foot. A suspended scaffold filing can be submitted by a master special rigger or master special sign hanger and reviewed by the cranes and derricks teams under these conditions. Specifically, the conditions on this slide are when a design professional needs to be associated. So that is when suspended scaffold platforms are adjustable. Support methods are only outriggers or outriggers combined with C-hooks methods. And one or both of the following questions is yes. And the 2 questions are any of the scaffolds used on the job a 2-point corner or angle scaffold? And are any of the scaffolds used on the job anchored to a building or structure? If one or both is yes, then a rigger or sign hanger can submit the job filing, but a design professional is required to be associated with the job filing. No PE or RA is required under the conditions on this slide. And incidentally, this deck will be available for you to download probably within a few days. And it will be on the same page where you signed up for this training. So a suspended scaffold filing can be submitted by a master special rigger or master special sign hanger and no PE or RA associated under the conditions on this slide. So the support methods are only outriggers or outriggers combined with C-hooks method. And both of these 2 questions must be answered no. The 2 questions again are any of the scaffolds used on the job a 2-point corner or angle scaffold? And are any of the scaffolds used on the job anchored to a building or structure? If they're both no, it can be a master special rigger or master special sign hanger submitting, and no PE or RA is required. Now, this slide talks about the circumstances when no job filing is required, but a notification must be submitted before installing or removing the suspended scaffold. And that applies when all platforms on the job are adjustable. The method of support is C-hook only. Yes to the question, are all platforms 2-point single tier with a maximum capacity less than or equal to 2,000 pounds suspended solely by C-hooks? And no to all C-hooks connected to a parapet. Again, this is when no job filing is required, but a notification must be submitted. If the jobs are non-adjustable and yes to both questions below, then we require neither a job filing nor a notification. If no is selected to either question, then notification will be required. And the questions again are all suspended scaffold, in this case, are all suspended scaffold platforms are non-adjustable and the platform area is less than 40 square feet. So if they are both yes, then you need neither a job filing nor a notification. And we'll get into notifications a little bit later on. Industrial rope access follows the same review process as the suspended scaffold job filing subcategory. If the applicant is a PE or RA, then the job filing will be reviewed by the borough office. If the applicant is a master or special rigger, then the job filing will be reviewed by the cranes and derricks unit. Note, this is only master or special rigger because if you look at the last bullet point, sign hangers cannot file IRA job filings. Now, IRA filings do not have any scope of work question, but there are required documents, and notifications are required for IRA filings. So we'll talk a little bit about how to determine who can submit a suspended scaffold in a minute, but I want to talk about the right side of this chart, the industrial rope access. The main question is the applicant a PE or RA? If the answer is yes, if a PE or RA is submitting, then the filing needs to be reviewed by the borough office. The permit holder needs to be a master or special rigger, and notification is required. If the applicant is not a PERA, then the applicant must be a master or special rigger. The review is going to be by the cranes and derricks team, and notification is required. Now, for the suspended scaffold side of things, the scope of work tab allows the system to determine if a master or special rigger or master or special sign hanger is allowed to be the applicant of record on the job filing. If a master or special rigger or master or special sign hanger starts a job filing that a PA or RA needs to submit, the system is going to inform the user that that's the requirement. The basic concept is that a master or special rigger can be the applicant on any filing that does not require a PE or RA to be the applicant. And a master or special sign hanger can be the applicant on any non-IRA filing that does not require a PE or RA to be the applicant. So all of the stuff we covered, let's put it all together. When do we need a PE or RA? Well, the conditions are here, but if a PE or RA submits, it's reviewed by the borough office, and we are requiring a PE or RA when suspended scaffold platforms can be adjustable or non-adjustable. There can be any method of support, but there's one or more no to these 5 questions. Single tier, supported at no more than 1 or 2 points, a maximum height of 15 feet, a maximum capacity of less than 2,000 pounds, and a maximum platform load of less than 75 pounds per square foot. So this table is about when a design professional is required to be associated with the job filing that is submitted by a master or special rigger or master or special sign hanger. So a design professional is required if you answer yes to 1 or more questions. But if you answered no to both questions, then no design professional is required. And the conditions are the support methods are only outriggers or outriggers combined with C-hooks methods. And the 2 questions that determine if you need a design professional are 1, are any of the scaffolds used on the job a 2-point corner or angle scaffold? And 2, are any of the scaffolds used on the job anchored to a building or structure? Now, all of what I told you, the system is going to help you figure out. We wanted to make sure we gave you the information about what the system is using to make the determination. But if you're ever not clear, you can absolutely just answer the questions and the system will tell you what's going on. So this next section is about technical reports. And this is something that may be new to you if you were doing suspended scaffolds via the prior process. Paper technical reports are currently being submitted for the TR inspections and sign off on suspended scaffolds. This is going to be moved into DOB Now Build. There's a technical reports tab where you will be able to add or update technical reports. So which technical reports apply? These are the inspections that are optional for suspended scaffold. structural steel welding, structural steel high-strength bolting, alternative materials, OTCR buildings bulletin number, structural stability alteration of existing buildings, aluminum construction, and post-installed anchors. Now, when a technical report is added to the job filing, the applicant or the associated design professional needs to identify who the TR inspector is. And then the TR inspector is going to be required to log in and attest to their role and upload their DPL1 to complete that identification on the TR inspection. When does this have to be done? It needs to be done prior to submission if the applicant on record is not a PE or RA, and it needs to be done prior to permit if the applicant on record is a PE RA. Once the inspection is completed, the TR inspector needs to sign in to DOB Now again to certify the results before the permit can be signed off and the letter of completion can be requested. Now, as sometimes happens, sometimes the same inspector is going to be doing multiple inspections, special inspections or progress inspections. In that case, they do not need to attest and upload their DPL1 on every single inspection separately. They can actually use the Update Multiple button to update multiple special inspections and upload their DPL once, and it will be applied to all of them. What they would do is they would click the checkbox for the ones they want to update, and then click plus update multiple, and they'll be able to upload their document. Now let's talk about required documents. Now, there's some material in this deck, including this section, which we're providing to you as a reference. I'm not going to go through every line to talk about every single document that is due for suspended scaffold job filings. Instead, I'm going to explain how to read these tables, and then you'll have this as a reference if you download a copy of the presentation. So the first thing you need to look at for these tables is up here in the title area. When are the documents due? So the documents on this slide are due prior to filing or submission. And for each of them, we're going to read across. So there's the document name for this one is calculations. The next question is it required or optional? And the answer is it's required if the subcategory is suspended scaffold, and it's optional if the subcategory is IRA. Then there are columns about whether this document can be waived or deferred. And the answer for both of these, by the way, is no. There's another slide also about filing or submission. And then there's a slide about documents due prior to permit. This next section is about statuses. And again, this is material we are providing for you as a reference. I'm not going to read through every one. But if you want to know what the status means on your job filing, the definitions are here. So for example, pre-filing means the job filing has been saved, but not yet been submitted to DOB. And you can go through all of these statuses. These statuses here are specifically for permit renewals. So now that we've talked about all of these requirements, let's go into the system and actually talk about how to initiate a suspended scaffold job filing. Now, if you haven't been in training for this type of thing before, what we're going to do is we're going to start by going through the slides, and then I'm going to go into the system and actually show it to you. So, how do you initiate a suspended scaffold job filing? First, of course, you need to log into DOB Now and choose DOB Now Build, and I'll show that to you in a minute. And then from the main dashboard, or really any dashboard, you'll click on plus job filing to initiate the job. You need to select the applicable job type, alteration, limited, new. So the ones that apply to this are alteration or new building. There's a series of questions that you need to answer and answer them as appropriate for your job filing. For the purposes of training, I'm just going to answer them all no. But depending on the circumstances of your filing, you may not be answering them all no. In the Select Work Type section, we're going to select Suspended Scaffold. And once you select it, all of the other work types are going to be grayed out because Suspended Scaffold cannot be combined filed with any other work type. You'll then be asked some questions. And the specific questions that you are asked depend on your answers to previous questions. So you'll have to answer things like suspended scaffold subcategory of suspended scaffolds or industrial rope access. If you choose suspended scaffolds, then you'll be asked all suspended scaffold platforms on the job are, and you have to say adjustable or non-adjustable. And depending on what you choose, there may be more questions. The last thing you need to choose is the filing review type, either standard plan examination or review or professional certification. And then you'll click Submit. The system is going to display a confirmation message telling you what cannot be changed from this point. And you'll click Yes to proceed to create the suspended scaffold job filing. So let me show this to you. So this is the DOB Now portal login. And I'm going to go ahead and click Login. I'm going to go to DOB Now Build, and I'm actually going to choose New Building, Alteration, Full Demolition, No Work. And then once this loads, I'll click Plus Job Filing. And then I'm going to select Alteration. Then it starts asking me the series of questions. As I said, for the purposes of demonstration, I'm going to answer no to these, but answer as is correct for your job filing. Then in the work type selection, I'm going to choose suspended scaffold. I must answer the suspended scaffold subcategory. If I choose industrial rope access, then there's no further questions. If I choose suspended scaffold, I need to say whether the suspended scaffold platforms are non-adjustable or adjustable. And notice, depending on what I choose, there's different questions that are asked. So this, in the case of adjustable, the question is, are support of method C hook only and all C hooks connected to a parapet? I say yes. And it tells me no job filing is required. There will be a notification required. And if I say no, then it asks me about the filing review type. I'm going to click Submit. It will tell me this is what cannot be changed. The job type, the work type, and the filing review type. And I click Yes to continue. Or you could click No to go back. And then we get into the PW1, and it's pretty straightforward. It's things like the location information, who the stakeholders are, and things like that. Now, let me go back to my presentation for a moment. And we are going to talk about what you do at this point. This is the notification that you'll see if no filing or notification is required. I showed you the one, what happened, where there's no filing required, but there is a notification. The next section gets into the scope of work. The scope of work tab for suspended scaffold is going to require you to provide answers to a bunch of questions. Now, the answers will determine who is allowed to be the applicant of record. And you must answer all questions that appear. But depending on your choices of some of the questions, different answers may come up. For suspended scaffolds, it will say all suspended scaffold platforms in the job are adjustable or non-adjustable. It'll ask about the method of support. There may be additional questions. There's also a question about bucket lifts that I'll show you. For example, if you choose outriggers as your method of support and yes for any of the radio buttons, you get these additional questions. Now, the scope of work tab only applies to suspended scaffold subcategory, not to industrial rope access. Again, there may not be a lot of questions. If you chose non-adjustable for a suspended scaffold, then the only other question is the one that was asked at the beginning, which is the platform area in all installations less than or equal to 40 square feet? So before we get into filing review, let's look at that in the system. Now, rather than make you watch me enter information so that I'm allowed to click save, I actually set one up already. So this is a suspended scaffold filing that is in pre-filing, which means I have saved it. I put in the location information and I put in the stakeholder information. Notice that I did this as a professional engineer. Now I'm going to go to the suspended scaffold scope of work. And the first question here is, all suspended scaffold on the platform are, and I chose adjustable when I was creating this job filing, so I cannot change that. It asks if the filing includes a bucket hoist. I can answer yes or no. And then it asks about method of support. And depending on what I choose, there may be different questions. As you can see, you can choose multiple methods if that's appropriate. And then I need to answer the questions as is appropriate. Whatever questions show up, you must answer. And then we recommend clicking save after each section, just so that you don't lose your work. The rest of the job filing, the technical reports, the documents, and the statements and signatures, are not any different from what you might have seen in filing other types of jobs. So for example, I talked about the adding technical reports and how to update multiple. You click plus add to add one of the optional inspections, and you click update multiple to update multiples. In the documents, it'll tell you what documents you need to upload. And then both the applicant of record and the owner are required to attest. So having said that, I'm now going to hand things over to my colleague, Anthony, who's going to talk to you about suspended scaffold filing review.
Okay, thank you, Martha. And I am going to pick things up where Martha just left off. And just let me get my share going here. And let's rock and roll. Oh, just got to pop you open. There we go. Okay, so let's start off with suspended scaffold filing review. So for suspended scaffold, the current process of review for standard plan examination remains the same, where the DOB plan examiners conduct the review. Customers can file as professional certification only if the applicant of record is a PE or RA. This is the fee structure for suspended scaffold job filings and permits. Let's take a look. So job filing fee, $160. Permit renewal fee, $130. Post-amendment approval fee is also $130. And the notification of installation will be $35 for each notification. And the notice of removal of an adjustable suspended scaffold is also $35 each. So this is the workflow for the PE or the RA applicant. We have our applicant, which could either be a professional engineer or a registered architect. They will complete the application, pay any fees, penalties, or violations. Then they'll submit to the DOB for review. And then the suspended scaffold gets approved by the DOB. Now, this is for the master special rigger or master special sign hanger applicant. We have our applicant, which again is either the master special rigger or master special sign hanger. They will complete the application. Then they will complete the attestation, pay any fees, penalties, or violations, submit to the DOB for review. The suspended scaffold will be approved by the DOB, and then the permit gets generated. Now, this gets automatically generated if the applicant is a master special rigger or a master special sign hanger after the SE final approval. I'm sorry, filing approval. Let's take a look at suspended scaffold permits. So this is just a little table here explaining who the job filing or AOR is. Does it need to be filed and who has it? So for job filings, we have the professional engineer and the registered architect, and they can or they will be able to fill out the PW2. And who files the PW2? That would either be done by the master special rigger or the master special sign hanger. Now, for the master special rigger and master special sign hanger doing the job filing, they do not need to fill out the PW1 tab. The permit is auto-issued upon approval of the job filing, and that's non-applicable for who gets to file. Okay, so work permits have a suffix added to the job filing number to indicate the work type. So SC is for suspended scaffold, and that's an example of what a job filing number would look like with the SC suffix appended to it. Now there's an after-hour variance, and that is an AHV permit. These are allowed for suspended scaffold job filings, and the process has not changed. This is just an example of a CD5 work permit. I'm sure we've all come across these. And whoopsies, yes, suspended scaffold notifications. Let's take a look at this next. Okay, a notification must be submitted to the DOB before installing or removing an adjustable suspended scaffold. There are two types of notifications. The first one would be the installation notification. And this is to notify the DOB that on the upcoming installation notify them of an upcoming installation of a suspended scaffold. Then there is the removal notification, and this will notify the DOB that someone is taking down a suspended scaffold. Multiple installation and removal notifications can be submitted for a single suspended scaffold job filing. Once the final takedown is indicated on a removal notification, no further notifications may be filed. And once again, a submission fee of $35 is applicable for each notification unless the job is fee exempt. Okay, so on this table over here, we can see we have our applicant of record, our permit holder, and who will need to submit notification. So let's take a look at how these will work together. So we have the master special rigger or master special sign hanger. They would be the applicant of record. The permit holder would be the master special rigger or master special sign hanger who filed the job. And who must submit that notification? In this case, it's going to be the master special rigger or the master special sign hanger who filed the job. Now for the PE or the RA, permit holder will be once again the master special rigger or master special sign hanger. And who has to submit the notification? That would be the permit holder. Then we have our applicant of record once again would be a PE or RA. The permit holder could be a general contractor. And then who has to sign the notification would be the applicant of record. Now the last one for both two columns doesn't really apply, but who must submit the notification in that case? In that case, the DOB now allows any licensed rigger sign hanger to submit a notification without job filing number. Separate notifications must be filed for each support method until is the final removal of the equipment is selected on the removal notification. Multiple notifications can be filed. Both installation and removal notifications are needed. The submission fee for each notification is $35, which is non-refundable. The notifier can cancel notifications if the LOC is not issued. And if a notification is canceled due to unforeseen circumstances, like inclement weather, for example, the user must submit a new notification and pay the $35 fee unless fee exempt to get an LOC. Now, only the person who submitted the notification can cancel the notification. Notifications carry certain date time restrictions. Notifications can be submitted anytime after the permit is issued. The start date is the day when the installation or removal of the suspended scaffold begins. The expiration date must be 3 business days after the start date, and a permit must be valid when submitting a notification. Whoops. Sorry, my presentation's being a little glitchy. Okay. Now, on the removal notification, if the customer checks yes to is the final removal of the equipment, I'm sorry, is this the final removal of the equipment, the permit will be signed off. Once all TR certifications, if any optional TRs are added, are complete, a letter of completion, that's an LOC, will be issued. The customer will need a new filing to reinstall a new suspended scaffold. Now, over here, we could see that we have the workflow for the master special rigger or master special sign hanger applicant. We start off with our applicant, which is once again, the master special rigger or master special sign hanger. They will complete the application. They will complete the attestation, which will be done by a professional engineer or a registered architect, if applicable. Pay any fees, penalties, or violations. The suspended scaffold approved by the DOB. They'll submit to the DOB for review. The permit gets generated. Now, this is automatically generated if the applicant is a special master rigger or master special sign hanger after SC filing approval. Then we have the SC installation notification gets submitted. The SC removal notification gets submitted and the permit closes. And then we have TR certification, if applicable. And then lastly, the LOC is generated and issued. Now over here, this is for the PE or RA applicant. So the applicant, in this case, would be a professional engineer or a registered architect. They would complete the application, pay any fees, penalties, or violations, submit to the DOB for review, suspend scaffold as approved by the DOB. They will submit a PW2 by the general contractor or the master special rigger or master special sign hanger. The permit approval is auto approved. The SC installation notification is submitted. Then the SC removal notification is submitted and the permit closes. And then lastly, the LOC is generated and issued. Now keep in mind, a PE or RA cannot be a permit PW2 applicant. Okay, let's take a look at notifications. This is how to submit a suspended scaffold initial removal notification. So from the main dashboard, much like Martha just did, I'm going to walk through the slides and then do the demo in the system. So from the main dashboard, we would just click on plus notifications button to display the options. Then we'll select suspended scaffold. Now the suspended scaffold notification window will display. We'll enter the job filing number and then we'll click proceed to continue. The system's going to display a notification that we are not associated or a stakeholder on the job filing. The suspended scaffold notification window displays the job filing information section is read only. We'll have to complete the required fields within the notification information section. We'll select the type of suspended scaffold, the subcategory of suspended scaffold, and then we'll enter the number of stories and the start date. And the expiration date will be auto-populated. And then all we need to do is click notify to submit the initial notification. Now, much like some of the things that Martha showed earlier, depending on your choices, you may or may not see additional questions appear. So if you proceed without a job number, the notification displays additional fields that will need to be completed. And let's go take a look at that inside of the system. Okay, yes, we want to log in as build 138. This out of here. And here we are in notifications. And let me just get in here real quick. I want to get one of these guys. Need the number. Okay. And suspended scaffold. Let's put this bad boy in here. And we'll click proceed. And there might be something going on with the system. Sometimes they do a little maintenance. Let's try this guy. See. Okay. All right. Well, you know what? We could still do this. So I'm going to just go over here and show you what it would look like. Because it's going to look the same way anyway. But here's all the things. So what I want to do, is this an installation notification or a removal notification? Is it adjustable? So again, this is an example of if I choose adjustable, now I have to answer which one. So I'm just going to say it's non-adjustable. Is it observation only? No. And the start date, number of stories on the building. And then we head over here to pick a start date. And now we could just head into notify. Now, because I did this slightly different, we would have to enter in location information. If I provided the job filing number like I did initially, all of that would be pulled in. So I would just need to populate this and then simply click notify. Okay, and let's jump back into the presentation. So this is about suspended scaffold supersede requests and PAAs. Let's take a look. A supersede request is not allowed if the applicant is a master special rigger or master special sign hanger. A new job filing will be required. If the applicant is a professional engineer or a registered architect, a PE or RA, the filing will follow the existing DOB now supersede process. The following are post-approval amendment PAA updates for this release. A PAA is allowed regardless of the applicant, whether it's a master special rigger, master special sign hanger, or PERA. PAAs are not allowed after the LOC is issued, and we'd have to go back and take a look at the section on notifications for additional information, or just to review and refresh. Now, the post-approval amendment fee is $130. We also have the CD in-flight job filing. So this is going to talk about job filings and permits and more. CD5. Amendments and permit renewals for existing CD5s must be filed in the DOB now starting November 15th. So an SR number, example 2399, is required to search by and initiate either an amendment or a permit renewal in DOB now for any active CD5 approved in the paper process. The amendment fee is $130 and the permit renewal fee is also $130. The CD5 amendment can be initiated from under the plus requests on the main dashboard, and the CD5 renewal can be initiated from under the work permits on the main dashboard. Now, when any of these transactions is initiated in DOB now for the first time for a given SR number, all the required fields must be filled out and a fee must be paid prior to submitting to DOB for review and approval. A job filing number will be generated for the respective transaction with a suffix of I1, example, job filing number appended with I1. After the first transaction is completed, if another amendment or renewal transaction is initiated, then the data will be auto-populated. Some fields are read-only and cannot be modified as part of the amendment. No edits will be allowed when renewing a permit. Installation and removal notifications must be filed per support method, and the same notification fee and rules apply as described in the notification section. So this is the CD5 amendment. We just click on plus requests, then we'd select CD5 permit amendment from the drop-down list. We would enter in the SR number in the enter SR number field, and then we just click get jobs. And then we'd be able to start answering the questions. And the first one would be, is this an application for a small business? which would be someone that employs fewer than 100 people. It's a yes or no. Suspended scaffold subcategories. All suspended scaffold platforms on the job are adjustable or non-adjustable. And are support of method C-hook only, and all C-hooks connected to a parapet. Now, when we click submit, the system may either notify us that a filing is not needed, or it'll display the amendment to be completed. Now, keep in mind, you must complete the Plans Work, the PW1 tab, in order to save and generate a request number. Let's take a look at in-flight job filings and permit renewals. It's the same process. Submit the CD5 permit amendment. We click on plus permits, then select CD5 permit renewal from the drop-down list. We'll enter in the SR in the SR number field, click Get Jobs, and then we have to answer the same 4 questions. Now, on clicking Submit, the system may either notify us once again that a filing is not needed or display the amendment to be completed. And also, again, keep in mind, you have to complete the PW1 tab in order to save and generate a request. And that takes us to the end of the presentation. So I'm going to thank you guys for your time and attention. And let's open the floor up for questions.